Recording going now. So as people jump in, I'm also sharing a Google Doc. And basically that's how we're going to track the call and interact with each other today. So if you go to the Google Doc link, the first thing I'll ask everyone to do is just add their name to the roll call so that we can welcome you. And it's an open doc, so you should all have access, and it'll just be a really easy way to track our discussions today. So with the roll call, you have to enter your name, where you're from, what you do, and if you would like, you can enter your social media so that we can connect with you. So for example, I'm Taeillo, I'm based in Montreal, Canada. I'm the founder of Girls Trip Tours, and you can follow us on Instagram. And I also put my personal Instagram if you like. So thank you, Moya from Toronto. And I see Asabe and Karel on the call, so welcome, and please enter your information whenever you like. So our opening question is, where is the first place you want to travel when the pandemic is over? You can answer that in your free time. And we also have a travel survey. So as you know, Girls Trip Tours is a travel company. And so we'd love to know how you plan to travel during the pandemic or post-pandemic, because it will really help us as we continue to design travel experiences. So that's a little bit about Girls Trip. I just want to run through the agenda for today. So next slide. So we're already halfway into the welcome. Then we're going to meet Jumoke officially, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and Taeillo. And then we'll go into a conversation where we discuss the different stages of entrepreneurial awakening. And this will be very interactive. So we hope that you do give us your opinions. And if you don't want to speak, you can also just write in the Google Doc. And then we'll have a small group discussion. And we'd love to hear more about your businesses and what you're trying to build at the end of the call. Next slide. So Girls Trip Tours is a travel experience focused on female empowerment. Our goal is to help women live their best life on travel experiences. So we take women from all around the world, all across Africa, and we meet in a particular destination. And while we're there, we support women-owned businesses and we mentor young girls. So Jumoke is actually the perfect example of the kind of entrepreneur that we would meet. Let's say we did a girls trip to Lagos, we would link up with Jumoke, maybe tour her factory, and of course, support her business as we can. And then when it comes to the mentoring, next slide, we've done this experience in South Africa, Kenya, and Ghana, and it's always been like the social good mission of Girls Trip, and also becomes like everyone's favorite part of the experience. And that's when the women from the diaspora, as well as the local women, come together and we host a mentoring day for young girls. And what's really beautiful about that is these women almost serve as like a dream realized for these girls, and a living, breathing example of what's possible if they keep steadfast to their dreams, they stay in school, and they continue with their education or pursue their talents. And so it's a beautiful day filled with love and learning and just supporting each other as we test our limits. And it has become the differentiator for Girls Trip Tours. And so that's why I'm launching the foundation. With not being able to travel, I still wanted to be able to support these girls. And so, yeah, now we're officially a nonprofit in Canada. And so that's part of what we're celebrating today. So next slide. I just want you to know that the donations from this event have raised enough for 3 scholarships for our program in Kibera, Kenya. And just to put a face to this gift that you've given the girls, you'll see a picture of me with our first 3 scholars. So this program was launched in 2019, and the scholarship enabled 1 girl to go to university and 2 others to go to high school. So that's it for Girls Trip Tours. Thank you so much. Round of applause to everyone who is here because you've made this possible. And now we can get into the content for today, which is our discussion with Jumoke. So Jumoke, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for enabling us to raise money for these scholarships. And please tell us a little bit about yourself and Taeillo.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I think it feels good to be here, and I will say like you are doing really like a very good job with the girls and all, because I feel like it's really so important for girls to have people they can like inspire to be like, and also like see like women who are like really doing so well, and also most importantly find people who can also support them and enable their dreams. So like using myself as an example, I didn't just get here by myself. It was because some people also believed in me too as well. Yeah, so I'm an architect by profession, right? I studied architecture in school from University of Lagos, Nigeria. And from there I like transitioned into finding myself starting a business, which is Taeillo. Taeillo, I started Taeillo majorly because I didn't start Taeillo because I wanted this to be a business actually. I started Taeillo because I was a creative and I wanted to just find a way to like express myself through furniture, right? Just create like some few pieces that people like. And from there it really like became what it is today. So Taeillo is an e-commerce furniture brand. So basically we're going to like be like the IKEA of Africa, where people can shop for furniture conveniently from their homes. So I know like getting well-made furniture at affordable prices in Nigeria is just, even as spread out to Africa, is a big challenge, right? But people who are in like the US or UK or Europe, um, when you want to like get furniture, you can easily like just maybe go to your website, go to Wayfair or go to IKEA or go to Made and just click, and next thing you find a delivery man at your doorstep and they deliver furniture to you. In places like Nigeria, like you really don't have that privilege. Even like most people have to use a local carpenter to like produce their furniture, which sometimes the artisans in places like Africa, you sometimes have a headache in trying to explain what you're trying to do to them. So for us, it's really creating a brand that people can trust and create that convenience when it comes to buying furniture from wherever they are. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And honestly, I remember the first time I heard you pitch the idea for Taeillo. So full transparency, how I know Jumoke is we're both members of Harambe, and I actually interviewed Jumoke for one of her stages to get into the program. And I remember you came and you were just like, yeah, I'm going to build the IKEA of Africa. And like the confidence with which you said it, I was like, I'm not sure she knows how difficult this is going to be. But then
Yeah.
2 years later, like you're doing it, you have a factory, you have staff, yes, like you've really like come a long way in a very short time.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you for taking
Yeah.
on the challenge, because it's such an obvious need, but it's also a scary problem to solve, because it's not just to make the furniture, as you said, it's the whole supply chain. um, so before we say more with Jumoke, I know some people just joined. So I've posted a Google Doc in the chat. And if you go into that, you can enter your name in the roll call and then use it to follow along this call, because it's going to be very interactive. So now we're going to jump into the different stages of entrepreneurial awakening. And I kind of created this earlier this year. I posted it on social media and I got a lot of like response. Like a lot of people could relate to this. So I thought it would be really cool if we kind of followed this through our conversation. And I mean, I've heard your story a bit, so I kind of feel like you can relate to this as well. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm already like seeing the stage I'm in right now.
Exactly. Like you can just find what stage you're at. And so I know a lot of people joining this call also want to either become entrepreneurs or are early stage entrepreneurs. And so this can really help them. So the first step I realized, looking back at my journey, it was that desire for more, that moment where you're just like, there has to be more to life. I know I'm capable of more than maybe my 9 to 5 is letting me showcase. Like, what else can I do on the side to really like step out? So I would like to ask everyone on the call to post their moments where they were just like, look, I can do more. I know I'm capable of more in the Google Doc, and then we'll have Jumoke answer.
Yeah, I think my step one really happened when I was like a master's student at University of Lagos. As at that time, So I had like, I think it was then when I was still an architect then. I sort of worked on the reconstruction of Central Bank Nigeria, which is like the biggest project any architects would dream of having, alongside some other like architects. I think from there I got like an internship placement in a furniture company then. And I know like every break, like when it's break time, I would go to the restroom and like we had like this huge mirror in the restroom. And I would like look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, I think like there's a whole lot of things that you can be doing rather than just come to work, stay in front of your laptop, trying to like design. Because for them, right, it was a very pretty good furniture brand. It's one of the largest in Nigeria, actually. But the thing is, they were bringing in all their raw materials from a place like Italy, right? And for me, it was like, yeah, this is great. What they do is great, but like there should still, I feel like there is a whole lot I can do as a young person. Like this brand has been in existence for like 25 years as at then when I was with them. But like there's a whole lot I can do. I know like I try to like help them do that, but I was limited because when you work in a place that has like lots of rigid systems, there's really nothing you can do. And for me, it was at that point, when several times I would go to the restroom, stand in front of the mirror and cry. And I'm like, I just need to get out. I feel like I'm stuck and I just need to get out. And I'll go to the HR to tell the HR, please, I'm leaving. I think that happened like 3 times. It was at that point I realized that but for me, I didn't see it as I wanted to start a business. I saw it as I wanted to find a way to express myself. And that was it for me. I think that was like that point for me.
Okay, so once you had that realization, what was the next step you took to kind of make sure that you got out of the situation and started building?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I was scared because like I was a master's student in school. I was an intern. Interns probably don't earn so much. I was like, so how do I get to do this? I think it was at that time I wanted to like travel around Nigeria to like sort of explore like different cultures and see how we can harness the resources and all of those things. Um, so even as at the time when I was leaving, I didn't know how I was going to do it. But for me, it's just about like just start from somewhere and start doing something, and as long as you're happy doing it, then the universe will cooperate with you to make things happen no matter what. So I think for me, it wasn't like I was like, okay, you know what? I just need to be happy. I need to stop crying in the restroom every break period. I just wanted to find a way to express myself. So if it's just getting out of here that will solve the problem, then I just have to do it. Even though I didn't know how it was going to play out. So
Yeah, I think that positive attitude really does change things because even if you don't know how to do it, you just know that you want to do it and you will do it. And then the figuring out how is actually much easier than getting that courage and that confidence to move forward. But you mentioned traveling around Nigeria for inspiration. And I think that's really interesting, especially since you do have a design brand. And most of the time, people think of like Western aesthetics when it comes to design. And for something to be modern, it has to be like European or Eurocentric. So, how important was it to kind of have that Africanness in your furniture and kind of put that at the forefront?
yeah, for me, because doing a furniture business isn't a new thing. The furniture business has been in existence for hundreds of years, if not thousands. And there are a whole lot of furniture brands in Nigeria. So when you pitch to someone, I'm starting a furniture brand, like, so what makes you different from any other furniture brand that is in existence, right? And I would really say for Taeillo to have grown so fast in a period of 2 years was majorly because people saw something that was totally different from what they were used to, right? So what they were used to is like just seeing pieces. But when you see like pieces that you sew for Ashwebi, so Ashwebi is like a group wear that people wear to parties, like a group sew like a certain type of clothing, like when they are going to parties as a group. So it's like Ashwebi. So when you see like Ankara for Ashwebi on your furniture that you're supposed to sit at home in the house, then you're like, That's a bit different. Like we don't have that here. And that sort of made the brand so popular. Even till now, like people don't really know us because we're like a furniture brand, but it's just because of that African element to it that make people remember us as a brand, and people like sort of feel like, yeah, this brand feels like us, or it reflects who we are. Yeah, basically.
That's great. And I think that's really inspiring for other African entrepreneurs who would think that maybe they have to do something in the Western way and see that you're successful just being true to yourself and true to your culture.
No, because I think right now this is the era of Black awakening, right? Like being a Black person is like a trendy thing right now. Like even if Taylor decides to go to America today, I'm very optimistic and I'm very sure that we'll do so well. Because guess what? We are not coming to compete with IKEA, or we are not coming to compete with Wayfair, or we are not trying to come and compete with like any other brand, because none of them is doing like what we are doing, right? So for us, we have like something different that we are bringing in that they don't have. And I think like at this point, anyone that can like tap into like Black culture, or like incorporating like Black elements, Black symbols into like African symbols and stuff into what they are doing. Yeah, because a lot of people want to feel at home right now with everything that is going on in the world. So I think it's really, really very important to have things like that.
Yeah. So the other question I had was around ambition, because sometimes people start a side business or they go into entrepreneurship and they limit the scale of their ambitions. Like, oh, I have this small thing I'm working on, or I just want to have this small business that's enough to like replace my full-time income. And they don't really think bigger than that. So what was the scale of your ambition when you started Taeillo, and how has it changed over time?
I think for everyone starting a business, they don't, I don't know if that is true. Um, Maybe in my own case, I started out just wanting to have fun and be happy.
Okay.
Um, I just wanted, so being a creative, right? I just wanted to find a way to express myself and be happy doing that. I know like I was doing it that way till we met a customer at that time who had a VC firm, and said, you know what, like you are solving a problem, can't you see it? And you know what, you can become this brand. And he showed me like guys like made.com and all of these people. And I'm like, we need people like you here, because I'm a creative, I'm an architect. I'm not a business-minded person. My parents weren't business people. My parents basically work with the government. So like, there's no reason for me to want to dabble into starting a business, right? But it was from there I sort of knew that, okay, yeah, I think, so for me, it was coming from a place of solving a market need, and how do I like get a lot of pieces into people's homes, and how do we get to do that, and how do we get to bring those pieces into people's homes as fast as possible. I think along the line, when you begin to grow, your vision sort of expands, and you kind of see, oh, this is what I should do, right? So for instance, maybe last year, uh, our goal is to try and sell as much via, our website and all of that. Because for instance, at the beginning of last year, before COVID, we're basically a B2B brand. Then COVID happened, right? And a lot of people were at home. And so the goal changed. How do we get these pieces into people's homes? Even though they're at home right now, they can't come out to stores to buy. And from there, we churn out a piece, and we saw people buying thousands of that. Then from there, we realized that, okay, this particular piece was selling like thousands of pieces of this particular piece. Why don't we like replicate that into like other pieces? Now the goal moved from how do we sell like thousands to hundreds of thousands of furniture in a year? How do we get these pieces across? So like as you begin to grow on your journey, your vision sort of expand, and you get to like begin to see things in a new way. I think that's the way it has been for me.
That's interesting. And I can definitely relate to you on the part of you started it just out of fun and just like to express yourself creatively. And then you realized, oh, this can be a business and there's opportunity here. And you let the market kind of dictate how you grew. So people's demand is what incentivized you to do more, and not the other way around. Okay, so before we go on, I just want to recognize the new people that have joined. So welcome Tanya, Carmen, and Aderisola. So we have a Google Doc where I would love you to kind of answer um, as we go along so that we kind of know why you joined this call, how we can help you as a community. So we just finished step one of the phases of entrepreneurial awakening, and now we're moving on to step two. So if you can answer in the Google Doc, you know, in the discussion section, what was your moment of awakening, like your desire for more? When did you first consider doing more than a traditional 9 to 5? And then answer what your biggest fear or concerns around starting a business or side hustle has been. That would be great. We're going to jump into step two with you, Jumoke. So, um, yeah, you talked about starting your business, and I guess the evolution was quite natural for you, but were there moments along the way where you were kind of afraid and maybe had people around you kind of doubting what was possible, and how did you overcome that?
Um, I think for me, when I was starting the brand, um, the moment I realized that, yeah, it could be more than this, and I think that really happened after we had like our very first customer. Because I know like our first piece, then they just started like Facebook ads, and also they were giving like free credits for people to try it out. So I sort of like put out a piece and did like Facebook ad, and the customer liked it. She saw it, she bought it, put it on her Instagram, then started getting DMs on Instagram. And yeah, I realized, okay, you know what? And then I was still a master's student. And then, you know what? Like, I really need to do this, but starting a furniture business is really capital intensive. Um, and how do I like go about it? Then for me, what I did was started doing like a whole lot of research on how you can start a furniture business without capital. It was then I realized, oh, I could leverage on tech. And I think like I think knowledge is really powerful in conquering your fears, right? Um, if you if you ever have doubts or fearful about something, I think for me the best way to fight that is seek knowledge. And if you definitely seek knowledge, the light will come. And when light comes, then you have like courage to move on. I think for me it was then I realized, you know what, this is how I can start a furniture business without capital. And guess what? Boom. I'm like, okay, yeah, I think this is time. This is the right time to move. But it took like a whole lot of time because I'll spend like nights on my laptop. There needs to be an answer on Google. I read every article, every review on people who have started like furniture businesses with very low capital. At some point, it got so bad I tried to get a loan from a microfinance bank to start, but it didn't work out. So like it sort of like pushed me to like think of finding a way to do that. And like after like having like our first client, sort of plowed the profit back into the business, and like everything started like growing gradually. Then I knew, okay, that was the right time. I know there was this time I like spent my master's school fees, so that in my final year, when I was trying to like make a piece, then I spent my master's school fees. And my mom called me, and it was even worse because like every courage I've mustered together, she sort of shattered everything. Like, why are you like trying to do this? Why are you blah 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 and all of that? But at that point, I've made up my mind that what would happen? What's the worst thing that will happen? Worst thing, I'll drop out of school. I already have a BSc, so I'm fine. So if I drop out of school, my second thought would be like, I think you should reach out to your mom. Because if you eventually drop out, then she will ask you, did I tell you that I don't have another money to give you to pay the school fees?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I've like made up my mind already that, you know what, I'm going to just go for this. And that was it. But I know like for you to develop that courage to fight your fear, the best way to do that is to seek knowledge on that particular situation.
Yeah. And I loved what you said about capital, because a lot of people see that as like the main inhibitor to them starting a business. Like, I don't have capital, I don't know where to get that from. And you started a furniture business, with little to no capital. And as you said, it's a very, capital intensive business, but there's always a way around it. Like all the businesses I've started, I found a way to get that initial capital, even if it meant getting it from my customers, which was one of your examples, right? You make it, you sell, that profit goes back into the business and you keep growing. And I think that's the smartest way to grow, because you know that what you're trying to build, there's already a need for it. And when you go to investors, you can prove it. You can say, look, from day zero, people have been paying me for this thing. Give me more and see what I can do.
Exactly. Because when we raised our first seed round, it was on the basis of that we got investment. Because we're like, oh, you mean it was just you that was doing this and you didn't have anything and you were able to make this much in revenue? It means like if we give you like money and get a very good, for you to get a good thing, you guys can probably like make a whole lot more. Like, yeah.
So I think that's great. And I love your thing about fighting fear with knowledge, because we always say like Google is your friend. Like there's nothing you can't figure out between like Google, YouTube. So no excuses. So for step 3, one sec. So for step 3, we want to talk about building good habits. So when you started out, you said you weren't an entrepreneur, right? You were more of an artist, a creative. And so how did you build the habits that made you the entrepreneur that you are today?
I think one thing for me is I'm a very goal-oriented person. Once I set a goal, I follow through to ensure that it comes to reality. Like you said, I know I say some really audacious thing to like people look at me and like, are you okay? But I know like for me to have said that, like I've made up my mind already that I'm going to do it. And another thing for me is I look at every big entrepreneur that's done so well. So for someone like me, I would listen to every Steve Jobs video, watch every Steve Jobs video, read every book possible, study people like Bezos, look at people like Marx, like, look at things that they do that really made them successful, right? And you get to learn things like strong grit, you get to learn things like confidence, you get to learn things like not giving up, you get to learn things like there's nothing called failure, it's just lessons. And when you begin to do that, you sort of, there's just this spark in you and you begin to live differently, knowing fully well that, every day, every choice you make would like he has a ripple effect. Like he has like a domino effect on what the future would be like. And for me, reading is something I really had to cultivate, because I read like every book possible on entrepreneurship, on leadership. And for me, I would say it's still an habit it's still something I still do right now. But I think one thing is really very important in any entrepreneur's journey, and that's like the ability to keep learning. You might never like go back to uni, but for me, I have a coach that I learn from like every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I have mentors I learn from. So that habit of continuous learning, continuous improvement, ensuring that you're always excellent at everything, consistency, those are those things that I've had to like build over time, from different sources like mentors, books, coaches, and all of that. So.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with that. And that's why we have this community, right? So that in between the trips, in between like the mentoring work we do, we have a space for women to gather, express what they're interested in, and continue learning from one another. You mentioned coaching, which a lot of people I feel like don't believe in coaching. So I want to know about your experience with coaching, and is your coach in your industry or just an entrepreneur that you can relate to?
Yeah, so I've never like believed in coaching. I know I had like mentors, but like so when I was like on the Nasdaq Milestone Makers program, so they because I was like the only black person running a business in
As
Africa.
usual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, in the program, right? So they sort of like assigned each person to a coach, and it was like the coach was supposed to help you get into your head, sort out your feelings, and help you become a better leader and solve your problems. And it was supposed to be like free for 3 months, but like I'm 6 months into it and I'm still like paying the coach because I think the issue is entrepreneurs don't have people they talk to, people they can like say things to and won't judge them, because everybody like expects you to be perfect. So I have a team of like over 50 people, and you just have to be strong for them. If you look weak, like if you look weak, then everybody start doubting, like, I think we shouldn't be here. So you just have to put up that hard front and like be that person for them. But like with my coach, yeah, I can like just express myself, tell him how I'm feeling, then explain to him like the things I go through. So that way, from a neutral perspective, he can like prefer solutions. So one thing with the coach I had or I have is he's not from my industry, right? But I feel it's just a life coach or an executive coach, because what I see is if you can get your mind to be in a proper state, you can function so well. So majorly his job is to ensure that my mind functions at the proper and optimum state so
Mhm.
that I can be able to like deliver what I have to deliver to the people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. So before we move on to stage 4, I noticed that some people are contributing to the doc. So for the first stage, which was the desire for more, people talked about being limited by corporate America or feeling limited by corporate in general and wanting to challenge themselves and do something they believed in, which I guess you can relate to with your story about, crying in the bathroom at lunch. Um, then for step 2, fighting fear, we have limiting beliefs, I guess losing interest. That's an interesting fear. And then the fear of money. Wait, is that the fear of having too much money or capital to start? Um, but we'll have the Q&A in a bit. Capital. Okay, and we kind of touched on that, how to get that capital. And then for stage 3, consistency, we asked what habits are you trying to build? And someone said keeping to a routine, waking up early. So thank you all for sharing. And right after we're done with phase 4, we'll actually open up the conversation so that you can chat with Jumoke and we can learn more about your businesses and what you're into. Okay, so getting to the last stage of entrepreneurial awakening, we talked about systems. And you previously mentioned that you have 50 employees, which is remarkable, especially so early into your journey. Um, and you also mentioned like being the only one in the NASDAQ program, which I'm sure in many spaces you are the only one, whether it's the only Black person or the only woman, or definitely the only Black woman. Um, so let's start with like locally. I know Nigeria is not always the most feminist place. So how is it being a young woman running a business in Nigeria? How have you been able to build those systems to unlock growth around you?
I think for me, I don't listen to the comments. I totally like block myself. Like I just create like a shield, so like all those energies don't get into me, right? For me, I just like I tell everyone on my team, So like you have like so in a place like Nigeria where like men feel like dominant, women are seen as weaker people, even at work, So because like I sort of lead the team, it's so easy for me to tell everyone, what, you guys, we're a gender neutral organization, meaning there is no man or woman. We are all the same. We have the same abilities and we can do a whole lot. And for me, yeah, for people like my mom that grew up in a different era where women are seen as people that would go to work and close 2 in the afternoon and come back home to take care of their children, she wasn't like too happy. Sometimes she's worried I do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I live like a totally like different life, yeah, from what she knows. So for me, I really don't let those things get to me. Like I don't even like I'm just like I can't hear them. Yeah, but the bias is so real, right? Sometimes I've gone for meetings and because I also have like a petite stature, so like the odds are against me. Like you're black, you're small, you're a woman, and you're like running a manufacturing outfit. Like so you go for a meeting and the guy gets to see you or the man gets to see you and like, oh, I was actually like expecting someone bigger. And I'm like, okay. Or when there was this project that we got. So after we delivered the project, the man was like, oh, I think I would like to meet the person. I would like to put a face to the brand and all of that so that we could talk. And I got to their office and he saw me, he walked past me, right? He didn't know I was the one. Then later on, like his secretary or something has like say, okay, this is the person. And he said it to my face. He said, if I had met you uh, earlier before the whole thing, I wouldn't have given you the job.
Mm.
But for
Yeah.
me, it's really like just ensure that your work is so excellent that no one can ignore you. And I think it's something I live by every day. Ensure that you're excellent and consistent and you show up every day. If you have like those three things, even like so no, nobody can because of that not say and it's something I really like with someone like Beyonce. She tries to be so excellent at what she does and like that consistency. Like at least now they're giving her extra Grammys and all of that. You can't ignore me this time after everything. So like I think that is really like sort of important, especially for like Black women. Like we have to just, like every other people, we have to do like 3 times the work other people do for people to recognize us, right? So if it was a guy, it was easier. If it was um, if it was white, it was easier, right? And it's even like worse if you live in a place like Nigeria. It's even worse, right? Because you're even coming from a supposed jungle. So like it's just, but you know what? If your work is excellent, like you can't be ignored. If you show up every time, you can't be ignored. If you are consistent with what you're doing, you can't be ignored. Because guess what? At that point, you're not the one like speaking for yourself. You now have other people or a community that you build speak up for you. And I think that's one thing we enjoy at Taeillo right now. Like, sometimes when I sometimes go on social media and you get to see a lot of people just fight for the brand and say a lot of stuff. Like I'm like, okay, like I don't even get to do all of those things anymore. Do you understand? So like those 3 things are really like very important.
Thanks for sharing that. And everyone listening, please post in the doc what kind of external support you think you need to kind of form good systems to carry your business forward. So you've kind of talked about some of the bias you face, of course, in Nigeria, and then even internationally, as you said, like people think of Africa still as a jungle and they don't understand the market and the opportunity. So what kind of partnerships or relationships have you been able to get that have really propelled your business forward, not just in Nigeria, but potentially around Africa or globally?
Yeah. Um, I think one thing is for the help we've gotten like abroad, especially in a place like US, even from the NASDAQ program, right? Um, it came from a place of telling the story and showing the results, right? Um, with that, you know, you could get things like funding. Like for instance, there are a lot of tech startups now in Nigeria and Africa that are raising huge sum of amounts. Um, you know, um, it comes with showing the results and showing that you know what a proof of concept. I think I'll call it proof of concept. With proof of concepts, you have access to stuff like funding. You have access to things like partnerships. Um, and and I think right now, people with very good stories to tell and people who are showing the impacts they are creating from this part of the world, like have access to like supports like that. So for instance, for like the NASDAQ program, till today, they still like get us like lots of links, like things like helping us find employees outside our own locality, right? Doing intros to investors, doing intros to a lot of people. So like, I think that's the way it has been for me, basically. Telling the story, showing the proof of concept, and showing the impact that we are making in this part of the world sort of unlocks things like funding, partnerships, and some sort of support from the outside world.
So the last thing I want to touch on before we open up the conversation is your use of technology, which is really innovative. So you have a furniture company, but at the same time, you're doing work with like AR, VR, and really trying your best, even with like your social media, to leverage technology to grow your business. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
So for people like me that didn't have like money to start a capital intensive business, the only thing we could fall back on was technology, right? With technology, you have the power to reach out to a whole lot of people that you can reach out to normally. A lot of people get to know about the brand in Nigeria and in like other places. But guess what? We've never had a billboard. We've never printed flyers. We've never done any sort of traditional marketing, just pure social media marketing, right? Um, with that, you have access to customers. If you have access to customers, if you have customers, then you have revenue. If you have revenue, you have money to do a lot of things. And if with revenue, with good revenue, you can also like raise money from investors. So for us is how do we break the boundary and how do we break the barrier? How do we reach out to a whole lot of people with less? So I think me dabbling into technology was how do I save money? How do I do a lot of things without spending so much money? And I think technology was the answer to that. So for instance, for instance, like a furniture manufacturing company, if you invest in very good machines, you spend less on labor, because a machine can do like a whole lot of stuff that you have to like hire a lot of people on the long run. For people like us, rather than set up very huge, large showrooms, with our e-commerce sites, with the 3D viewer, people can see dimensions. So it's not like you're going to a furniture store to go and measure with tape to see if it will fit into your space. You go on the website, you're seeing the size, you're seeing it in 3D. You can embed it in your own physical space to see if you like the design or not, if it works or not in your space. With that, you're sort of reaching out to a lot of people without spending so much.
100%. I think, Jumoke, you're frozen. So hopefully we get you back. But right now we wanted to open up the Q&A, and I'll actually turn this over to the audience. So you have two choices to engage with us for the Q&A portion. You can type into the Google Doc under Let's Talk, and tell us what you're working on, the biggest challenge you're facing right now, and how this community can support, or you can come off mute and just have that conversation with us. Yep, we lost her, but she'll be back. So does anyone want to tell us about their businesses and potentially how we can support you today, or answer any questions you have about growing? So Asabi, I see you posted in the doc. Do you want to come off mute and talk about it?
Sorry, I was like writing. I didn't know anyone else talk. I was like typing it in the box. I apologize. So yes, thank you so much for this conversation. This has been very, very helpful. Hearing her story in regards to like being in corporate and crying in the bathroom. I actually cried yesterday in my current role, so I totally understand that. But one thing I wanted to talk about in regards to, she talked about coaching was I'm building kind of like a booking network for African creatives and an on-demand content marketplace that's going to be focused on visual creators on the continent. And so while I'm here, I mean, I do have the pleasure of like using Google, yes, but it's also having that human person to talk to in regards to, especially me, I have more of a content marketing less than a technological background, even though I do work for a tech company. And so it's like understanding the first few steps on what to do. I'm just reading and seeing that, oh, you have to trademark this, you have to get, UX design. And then sometimes I'm putting the cart before the horse. Sometimes I'm like trying to design everything without even like testing with a group of people. So it's like just understanding if there was a constitution for new founders on the first few steps to take. I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. So Jumoke is just rejoining. So Jumoke, while you were away, since we're at the end of your statement, we just moved on to the Q&A. So Asabe came online and she talked to us about her business, which is a booking company based in Nigeria. And she was just saying how, first of all, she could relate to your story, but also the difficulty of like starting a business and trying to do everything at the same time. And so while, she has Google and she can kind of Google, okay, what are the steps to take as a new entrepreneur? Having a coach or someone by her side to support is also really helpful. So my question to you, Jumoke, if you're all settled, is just for an entrepreneur that is starting out and kind of overwhelmed by the process and wants to do everything at the same time, what would you say if they can focus on just one single thing? What would that be? And I can go ahead and answer that question if you still need a moment to like sort out your sound. But Asabe, I would say to you, yeah, I understand how daunting it can be when you're starting out. If you have to focus on one thing, it's on the customer, right? That's the only way your business grows. So if you're building things and you haven't yet like found out from your target customer, I think that's a problem. So I would say kind of slow down and first of all figure out who your customer is and then start testing your product with them and really let them dictate the pace of the relationship. And so if you can try and get some sort of sale from your customer, and that's just a way of what you really need is a validation point from the customer. And sometimes sales are kind of the most obvious way to test because you can talk to people and host like research sessions and ask, oh, would you pay for this and how much would you pay for this, but people lie. And so if you can kind of figure out what what MVP, right? What MVP can I get to test if people are willing to pay for this? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a high price. Um, Sometimes you don't even have to test if they would pay for it with money, but just if you created something, would they download it? Like, would they even want it for free? Talk less of, paying for it. So I think your first step should really be to see what your customers want and what they're willing to do for it. Are they willing to show up for a free event? That tells you something. Are they willing to go through free content that you created for them? And then next step, are they willing to pay for it? How much are they willing to pay for it? And then you can kind of test out your value proposition that way.
That is so helpful. I have a follow-up question. Sorry. But another question is like, as you pitch this thing, and Jumoke, you can answer to, like, do because you want people to test your product, but there's this idea of like you don't want to tell them too much because you don't want them to steal the idea. So where is the balance between like trying to explain what your product is to have people to test it out versus like, being paranoid that everybody would take that secret. Will take it since it's still in stealth.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the fear of people stealing your business, I don't think it's very useful. So even if someone takes your exact idea, Sabe, they're not going to execute it the way you would. They're not going to have the consistency or the level of finish that you're going to have. They're not going to bring your flavor to it, right? And so if you know that like the way you're going to do this thing, like everything has been done. There's nothing new under the sun, right? That's what people say. But what makes a good business is how you execute, not just the idea, but like the execution of the idea. So I wouldn't be too worried about giving away your idea. One, yeah, like most people just don't even have the energy to steal your idea. And then two, even if they did, you know that you are already on the path, so you're going to beat them to market, and you should be confident that you can do it better than them. So I would just say, like, put that mindset away, because at the end of the day, you need to put this out into the sunlight to see if it'll grow. And if you're like growing it in your closet, it's not getting the light or nutrition it needs to grow. You're not getting the feedback you need to grow. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
That's a good one. I was about to put money in your offering plate for that. Not getting the light supposed to grow. Okay.
So I know Jumoke is here, but maybe she's having some issues with her audio. Does anyone have a question? Another question? We have 3 minutes left. Yay, Jumoke. I think you're back.
Yeah, I think that's like really true. I think
I think we lost her again.
do what you have to do.
Okay, I think your connection is just really bad. It's kind of breaking up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Maybe take yourself off video and let's just do audio only. I can do the same to save some bandwidth on the call.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So like I said, I was like, two entrepreneurs, like what's the entrepreneurs from entrepreneurs is vision, right? The power of vision, right? What you see is totally different from what I see. And it's going to be like so hard for someone else to execute your vision. And I think that's really very important. So like, if you really need to put something out there, don't worry, like just put it out and do your thing. And even if someone gets to steal, you know what? It gives you like the courage to even outdo and do something better than what you already have. You do a version 1 of what you are trying to do, you put out a version 2 or even a version 3 of it, And that's like that place of consistent growing and consistently trying to do more, outdo others. And I think it's one spirit I admire, like very big entrepreneurs or people like brands like Apple, where they've done something and next one they want to come up with another version of something that is better than what the market is currently offering. And I think that's like my own view or take on that. Yeah.
Thanks for adding that, Jumoke. So we are at the end of our hour. We want to thank you for joining us, Jumoke. We're truly inspired by your story and just good luck on your journey. We look forward to continuing to follow it. Thank you to everyone that has attended. Thank you, Asabi, for your question. Hélène Carrel for inputting on the doc. Isioma, Pumla, Tanya, thank you so much for joining today. And yeah, let's stay in touch. We have some announcements in the doc. So if you want to follow those links to learn more about what we do at Girls Trip Tours, help us take the survey. If you want to join our summer mentoring program, you can sign up in the document. And as our foundation grows, if you want to learn more about that and stay in touch, please enter your name and I will reach out to you. Have a great Friday, everyone. Bye.